Are you migrating to Canada? If yes, there are three English examinations to choose from: IELTS General Training, PTE Core, and CELPIP. Watch until the end of the video for 9.09er to help you decide which English exam is ideal for your Canadian immigration.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Pheelyp, one of the lecturers at 9.09er. With me is Sir Ervin. And in this video, he and I will be talking about the CELPIP speaking test. And we would be comparing it with the other English exams so that you have a better idea of which English test is the best fit for you.
Well, it's quite funny though that this is the only time that we have a video specifically for CELPIP. 9.09er started in 2007 and we even offered review for CELPIP even before 2020. But it's only 2025 that we have dedicated a video for CELPIP. Remember that whenever we launch videos or publish videos, we ask our dear subscribers to tell us which specific topics they want us to talk about. And in our previous videos, some people suggested that we talk about CELPIP speaking. So, Sir Pheelyp, let's begin with the question, what is CELPIP and where can the candidates or examinees use their CELPIP result?
Well, Sir Ervin, CELPIP is an English exam, and what makes it special is that it is exclusively used for people who want to go to Canada. CELPIP stands for Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. So that's long. That's why they use CELPIP. And they use this test for people who want to migrate, as well as for people who would like to work in Canada for certain situations.
CELPIP is interesting because this examination can only be used in Canada. In fact, Canada is known to offer certain examinations that are Canadian owned. Say for instance, if you are applying for student visa, typically it's IELTS academic or PTE academic, but Canada has its own version of its academic examination, and that's CAEL, Canadian Academic English Language. Now, what about examination for nurses? If we have OET or the Occupational English Test, the preferred English examination of nurses, doctors, and other healthcare professionals the world over, we'd say that Canada also has its own English examination for nurses, and it's known as CELBAN, Canadian English Language Benchmark Assessment for Nurses. And if Canada has CAEL and CELBAN, Canada also has CELPIP. And Sir Pheelyp mentioned earlier, it's Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. Take note, by the way, that should you decide to take CELPIP, CELBAN, or CAEL, your destination must be Canada because you cannot use the results of these high-stakes English examinations if you choose other countries. Well, IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, and OET, they're more inclusive because you can use the result in any part of the globe. Now we're focusing on CELPIP. So who are the candidates who are allowed to take CELPIP if you have plans of applying for a Canadian immigrant visa? So what are the three options? There's IELTS General Training, there's PTE Core. Take note, not PTE Academic, it has to be PTE Core, and the third one is CELPIP. So, Sir Pheelyp, now that this video is supposed to focus on CELPIP, please tell us more about CELPIP speaking.
CELPIP speaking is very interesting because compared to IELTS speaking, which is pretty straightforward, CELPIP has 8 different tasks. I know, when I was preparing for it, I really had to concentrate and expand my skills because it was such a huge variety of things that I needed to do. It ranges from something as simple as giving advice to a friend to something so bizarre and alien as describing a picture that you've never seen and probably would never see again in your life. And that range of activities, from the easiest to the most difficult, really made me feel reassured that CELPIP is a good way to assess my English exam, my English ability rather.
Guys, let's compare. IELTS speaking, there are 3 tasks. So, introduction and interview. The second one is the individual long turn, and this is when you're going to deliver a 2-minute speech. And the third one, follow-up round. For PTE, there are 5 types of questions in the speaking subtest. Main difference between PTE Academic and PTE Core. For PTE Core, instead of retell lecture, you are going to respond to a situation. But Everything else is basically the same. So PTE Core also has short answer question, describe image, there's
That
repeat sentence and
repeat
read
sentence
aloud.
and read aloud. That's correct.
Okay, so let's repeat. What are the five types of questions in PTE speaking? So there's read aloud, there's repeat sentence, there's short answer question, there's describe image, and the last one, if it is PTE core, it's respond to a situation. But I heard from Sir Philip that there are eight types of questions in CELPIP speaking. What are the eight types of questions, Sir Philip?
Well, Sir Ervin, the first one is giving advice to your friend. And you're given a situation and you're supposed to provide insight on a plan of action for somebody who you care about. The second one is to recall a personal experience, which is actually quite similar to IELTS individual long term, where you're going to talk at length about something that already happened to you. And then the third is where it starts being quite strange because you are asked to describe an image, a situation, somewhat similar to PTE, but task four is when you're asked to make predictions. You are going to imagine what is going to happen next in the picture. And I guess this is quite challenging because you have to talk about something that's not in front of you. And then you also are going to be, after that, you're going to be given choices like an old car, but is cheap, or a new car that is expensive, and then you're given time to prepare, and then you're gonna have to justify your choice, which is the better option. The next task is you have to talk about a sensitive situation, like you're gonna be giving negative feedback to somebody, or you're gonna be offering a hard truth, and this is something that requires finesse, and you're not just like declaiming or reciting, and your tone of voice really matters. And the most difficult task is the second to the last. It's like giving an essay. It reminded me very much about writing task 2 in IELTS, because you have to provide arguments regarding an abstract general topic, and I loved it, of course, but it was quite challenging. In the last one, task 8, you're given like a strange, weird alien photo that you would probably have never seen before. You will never again see, and then you have to somehow summon the vocabulary to talk about the picture. So, as I said earlier, Sir Ervin, a wide range of tasks, from very easy, you do it all the time, to something you probably would never do again.
Before we continue, we urge our viewers to like, comment, and subscribe. If there are more things that you'd like us to talk about, use the comment section, let us know. Guys, Sir Philip here is credible because he has actually taken all of these examinations. Well, he has taken IELTS, OET, PTE, CELPIP, and MET. So for him to compare the three examinations for Canadian immigration, he can definitely give you complete details because apparently he has taken all three of them. And we are not going to do an on-the-spot speaking for all 8 questions because we don't want to bore you. So just to give you some sort of teaser, Sir Philip right here is going to do an on-the-spot CELPIP speaking task 1 and CELPIP on-the-spot speaking task 8. Let's begin with task 1, Sir Philip. So earlier you mentioned that they are arranged according to level of difficulty. So we assume that CELPIP speaking task 1 is the easiest of them all.
Indeed, Sir Ervin. And if I may go right to it, the task in number 1 is a friend is looking for a summer job, and you can see this in your screen. Advise him about different ways he can find work for the summer. Now, in the exam, you will have 30 seconds to prepare, but I'll jump right into it because I am sure you're excited to see what it could be like. So I would be timing myself because you would have 60 seconds to talk about this. Of course, you can spend less than that time. And in the exam, you will find a bar that is moving so that you know exactly how much time you have left. But for now, I'll go for like an hour, a minute,
A minute.
a minute. So let me read the question again. A friend is looking for a summer job. Advise him about different ways he can find work for the summer. I will give myself 1 minute. 1 minute starts now. friend, I'm really glad that you are finally looking for employment during the summer. That's going to be very productive for you. I can think of three things that you should probably be keeping in mind. First is you have to prepare a resume that authentically and honestly details all of your achievements as well as all of your hopes for the job that you're looking for. The second would be you need to be at your tip top physical state. You have to be well rested, well hydrated, you have to exercise so that whatever job you end up doing, you're at your best when you do so. The third thing I could advise you is to always have a growth mindset because you're a young guy and it's a new job. So you're going to be making mistakes. If you think of mistakes as the stepping stones towards success, then you would be more open to trying new things and to not give up. I hope you find your job. And if you have any questions, please do let me know how I can help you further. That's exactly 1 minute.
That's on the spot, self-pip speaking, ladies and gentlemen. If you find that easy, well, self-pip speaking is for you. If you find it challenging, though, then maybe you're better off with other English examinations because, as Sir Philip mentioned earlier, CELPIP Task 1 is supposed to be the easiest, whereas CELPIP Task 8 is the most challenging of them all. So, Sir Philip, what can you say about your own performance?
Not bad. Not bad because I frequently give advice not only to my friends but also to our students on how they could go about the review, etc. It was familiar. The language was something that I use all the time, and I was structured about it. I promised if you would notice Ervin, if you notice Ervin, to give three pieces of advice. So when I said that I was going to give three pieces of advice, of course I didn't know what I was going to say, but because I promised to my that I would give three, it forced me to be organized. It forced my thinking into this template. I said first and then second and then third. So it allowed me to be more structured and that helped a lot.
Sir Philip mentioned earlier task 2 to task 7. We're not going to do all of them because it might take more than 30 minutes for us to finish this video. We jump right to CELPIP task 8 in speaking. So what's CELPIP task 8 once again, Sir Philip? You said earlier describe something weird.
Indeed, indeed. And right now you're seeing the weird thing on your screen. I will read the task for you. You are in a furniture store and you see a table you would like to buy, but the store clerk won't let you take a photo. Phone a member of your family, provide a full and clear description of the table, and ask if you can buy the table. So I would give myself ordinarily 30 seconds to do this, but since I'm sure you're excited of what it could be like, I will do so immediately right now. I will also again give myself 1 minute to do this. 1 minute starts now. Hey bro, so I'm in this furniture shop and there's this really weird table that I think would really fit in our living room. It looks like a fruit. The legs are look like bananas, ripe bananas, and the top of the table looks like a slice of watermelon complete with seeds. The perimeter is like green and they're like alternating dark green and light green um, spots, and it also comes with a table that it looks wooden, and the clerk won't let me take a photo. That's why I'm telling you all about it. So I would it be okay if I buy it? I promise to pay it back as soon as possible, and I'm sure you'll like it anyway every time you see it beside the piano. We good? Okay, so I I had like 5 more seconds, but I think that sounds a lot. the I would like to share that in task 8 to Urban, the challenge is is remembering not only to talk about the weird details that one sees in the photo, but also to remember the task. If I could read the task again, it says provide a full and clear description of the table, but it doesn't stop there. It also says ask if you can buy the table. So when I was preparing for my own self-pips urban, I recall sometimes making the mistake of just spending all of my time talking about the weird table and forgetting that, oh wait, I'm also supposed to do something else after that. So something to remember for those of you who will attempt the self-pip on your own.
So it's not just the photo, it's the task description. Because if you just describe the photo, but you fail to discuss one aspect of the question, then you're not going to get a satisfactory grade. I was listening to Sir Philip earlier, and I've noticed you need to have a wide vocabulary. You have to be good with descriptions because if you're presented with something that you don't see regularly, you might be at loss for words, right?
Yeah.
So that's a sample of CELPIP Task 1 in speaking and CELPIP Task 8 in speaking. Now, I'm going to ask Sir Philip a few questions, like number 1, IELTS General Training, PTE Core, and CELPIP. Which of the three do you think is the easiest to prepare for, knowing that you reviewed for all three exams and you have taken all three examinations?
Oh, definitely the easiest would be the IELTS speaking because you only have to do three things. As you mentioned earlier, Sir Ervin, answer personal questions, individual long term, and then answer follow up questions from the examiner compared to PTE where you have to do more tasks and in CELPIP even more tasks. So IELTS would be the easiest.
Let me clarify. We did not say easiest to pass. What's the exact words that we used? Easiest to prepare for. Now, let's change the question into something like, of the three examinations, IELTS General Training, PTE Core, and CELPIP, which of the three is most challenging to prepare for in the speaking subtest?
I think our viewers would not be surprised if I would say that it is the CELPIP, which is hardest to prepare for. Because when was the last time that you had to describe a watermelon shaped table with bananas for your legs? So it's really challenging in that sense. So CELPIP.
We try our best to be objective as much as possible. That's why I'm going to ask Sir Philip here. When would you recommend IELTS General Training over the others? When are you going to recommend PTE Core over the others? And when are you going to recommend CELPIP over the two other English examinations? So let's begin with, when are you going to recommend IELTS General Training?
Well, IELTS General Training is good if you would like to have access to an overabundance of review materials because the IELTS has been around since ancient times.
1989.
Ancient times. And therefore, people have had a lot of time to develop lots of materials. So it would be, as I mentioned earlier, the easiest to prepare for.
I'd also like to add that IELTS is the only one with a paper-based examination. Okay? For PTE Core, no paper-based test. For CELPIP, no paper-based test. Did I get that right?
That's correct, sir. Indeed.
And when are you going to recommend PTE Core over IELTS General Training and CELPIP?
Well, I would suggest that people should take PTE Core if they would prefer a computer-based test and they would not want to talk about watermelon tables and with banana legs and to give like an argumentative speech like in a debate in speaking and have to make predictions of what happens next in an image. So if you would like a computer-based exam but don't want to do weird tasks, then PTE Core would be the one for you.
Let me emphasize that PTE Core was just introduced in the market in 2024. Meaning to say, there are not too many practice tests that are specific for PTE Core because it's a baby examination, so to speak. So CELPIP is older than PTE Core, but IELTS is way too old as compared to the younger English exams. So let's go back to being objective. When are you going to recommend CELPIP over PTE Core and IELTS General Training?
Well, hands down, I would recommend CELPIP if one, you do not want a paper-based test because you're more familiar with a computer-based test, and you take CELPIP over PTE if you are more confident in doing these tasks in that CELPIP asks you to do. It's really case to case because, for example, in PTE, describe image, which is like writing task one where you have in the IELTS where you have to deal with numbers and graphs. I mean, I was challenged when doing that. And so it's really a matter of picking your poison. If you would like to go computer based, I would suggest to try both exams and find out which one is easier for you to prepare for. And if it's CELPIP, then I guess it's CELPIP.
Bravo! That ends our discussion for CELPIP Speaking. If you are looking for review materials for CELPIP Speaking, this coming May 2025, we are launching our very own CELPIP book. It's something to look forward to, knowing that there are not too many free review materials for CELPIP. Once again, this is Ervin Temporal and Pheelyp Aitona of 9.09er English. Thank you so much for watching our CELPIP Speaking video. In the next 3 weeks, we are going to cover CELPIP writing, CELPIP reading, and CELPIP listening. See you next week.